Okay, this is Brother Johnny of Groove 19 Promotions out of Manning, South Carolina. Sincerely thanking everyone for tuning in to this installment of the 19 Report. As promised, we would be back with you with commentary about envy. And if you would like to join us, you can join us live on our personal webpage, 19report.weebly.com. Also, we're streaming live on Facebook as well as on Twitter. And we are streaming through our podcast. Incidentally, if the broadcast goes over 1 hour, it will be stopped on the podcast on Mixler, but it will be in its entirety uploaded to our YouTube site. So I hope that you will join us for this next hour and begin to share this information that we feel that we are blessed to receive from Almighty God Allah, and share it with others, because it's time to begin to share the truth about biblical scripture and about other scriptures as well, that they're all the same. We're fighting in religion, we're fighting in the streets, we're fighting each other, we're fighting in our minds, but the fights that we are engaging in are not necessary. All we have to do is to begin to study more, get our own emotions out of the way, and listen to what God is saying. Now, today we're talking about envy, and I chose this subject based upon a comment made by someone on Facebook, and I told her that I was thinking about doing a segment on hating, on envy, and really on emotion. Now, I want to get this clear and get this over well, that all of our sins are manifested through our children, and if not through them, our immediate children, then through their children. This is what is meant in Scripture when it talks about the sins of the father visiting the children. Generation after generation of hidden evil that has gone unchecked by moral consciousness. Now all of it is being made manifest through our children by God's permission. I know you have been following the case of Elliot Rodger. Elliot Rodger, really a sociopath, a psychopath, ended up shooting 13 people and killing 6. Now, Elliot Rodger, I want you to understand the makeup of his mind. And we're talking about envy. Elliot Rodger is a product of detached, soulless society. And that is what is being created today. It has been going on for a long period of time. It has been chemicals put into the food, what is being projected over the television, our love for shows like Scandal and other things that we enjoy seeing the evil that is being done. We don't want it in our own life, but we enjoy seeing it on the screen. And by accepting this type of imagery, sound, food into our bodies without ever asking God for mercy, without ever trying to fight the idea of what is being introduced to us, we are in actuality accepting the spirit of evil that is being introduced to us. It is no different than what happened to Eve in the Bible in the book of Genesis. She accepted the suggestion, and in accepting it, she carried it out. So above all, this one we are talking about, Elliot Rodger, is really a product of a twisted, detached, soulless society where young people are taught all the wrong messages by their parents, by a shallow corporate media focused on material wealth and the creation of engineered desire among consumers, and by what they are exposed to on a daily basis. In other words, they are telling our children via radio, via cartoons, via the parents in the home, what they should like, what they shouldn't like, how if they don't have these particular things, they are nobody. So our children desire to have expensive toys, expensive things that they have no idea the value of it. All they know is that if they have it, then that they should be a part of the quote-unquote mainstream society. Now, the big lie of this society, what we live in today, is that happiness comes from buying things rather than from improving yourself from the inside out. And if you know about the 19 Report, every single broadcast that we do is focused on the inside of the individual. We're not talking about white folk. We're not talking about black folk. We're not talking about society as it is. We're talking about each individual white, black, red, brown, or yellow, confronting your internal thoughts, confronting what has happened to you in your life, and going to God with it and asking for balance in your mind so that your and my emotional state will not go off balance. Now, this is the great artificiality of modern American culture. You are what you wear. You are what you possess. You are your job title. You are your degree title. So if you ask a person who they are, they'll tell you, well, I'm a doctor. Okay, that's what you do. Who are you? Most people can't answer that question. Who are you? Oh, I work at so-and-so. That's what you do. That's not who you are. Explain to me who you are. And our children are growing up. We're talking about envy, not knowing who they are from birth because they are following every new trend that comes into play. Now, Elliot Rodger, this one that just posted up these videos online of him and his desire to kill pretty people, his desire to kill those he thought were hindering his growth as a person. He allegedly shot 13, murdered 6, had a shootout with police, and later took his own life. In several of his videos, he talked about owning expensive cars. He talked about owning expensive clothes and expensive jewelry. And he seemed baffled that these things that society says makes you successful in life and in love did not work for him. He could not understand why the women weren't falling for him. He was drinking the best wines, driving a BMW, had on a $300 watch, the best clothes, and none of the things that society said was supposed to make him a lady killer was successful in his world. So his mind snapped, and he became envious of the people who were attracting these beautiful women, and so envious of the women that, as the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches, an envious person is the worst because an envious person wants you dead. So rather than look inside of himself for a positive solution for the problems, he blamed everyone else, as we all do. And this is where the idea and concept of hating comes from. We hate others, but we only feel it when someone hates on us. So everyone's posting on Facebook about the haters, but you are a hater. Not only are you a hater, not only am I a hater, but we are also liars because we lie to our internal self. And God cannot use an envious, emotional liar. So we make our own creation of what God is. We dance a lot, we shout a lot, we make the best music, but we don't address the internal self. Not only did he blame them, but he executed a plan, Elliot Rodger, to take revenge. Cold-hearted, calculated, psychotic, sociopathic behavior, and this type of behavior is becoming common. I just read a story on my way before I got on the air, actually. I read a report of 2 brothers, young black men, arguing over clothes. 2 brothers. One brother shot the other brother, killed him, and then shot himself over clothes. Both of them are dead. And the incident that just happened in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And it will continue to happen because society is being primed to turn on itself. I'm going to say that again. You and I are being conditioned to turn on ourselves in a psychotic rage that the outcome of it will shock us so much when we come back into the reality of what we've done, we're going to end up killing ourselves. 2 birds with 1 stone, to feel no remorse or guilt, to justify fighting and killing as a means of survival. Now, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught his followers, you don't ever raise your hand to another believer in aggressive way because we are not able to handle how far the aggression will go. And we take it to the extreme and someone ends up getting killed. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches that emotionally we should not have guns in our home because when the male and female begin to argue, someone is going to pull out a gun. The actor that was on The Shield, the black man, just shot his wife in front of his children, killed her. Because the emotion involved with it, the envy, the anger, this is all being triggered, made manifest to the boiling point. And I want to make this clear that it's not just happening in poor neighborhoods, it's happening in rich neighborhoods, it's happening among all races of people. Now, Elliot Rodger, the one we're talking about, his father was the co-executive producer of a movie called The Hunger Game. Check out the movie and then look at your surroundings. Look at society. The super rich, the middle class, the working poor, and the poor will all begin to blame each other for the current state, current condition of this country and the world. We're turning on each other. We're turning on each other in our homes. It's the job of those who can see what is coming down the line to tell the people, to warn the people, to educate the people, and to instruct the people on what God has already stated in scriptures, and it is written for all nations of the earth. Envy and extreme emotion are now being used as weapons to make people kill. I'm going to say that again. Envy and extreme emotion are now being used to make people kill themselves and kill others. Today we're talking about emotions and the powerful control that these emotions have over our mental state. Why are we hating? Why are we turning on each other? What have we done in the past? Why are we unable to control sexual desire among our friend's husband, our friend's wife, our sister's husband, our sister's wife? Don't become offended by what I'm saying if it applies to you. I'm trying by God's permission to help us understand. I can't make us understand, but I can deliver the message that God has given to me in hopes that we understand it. Don't be ashamed of what you've done. Be remorseful of what you've done and allow that remorse to go inside of the soul, that God will answer that remorseful cry for help and begin to save our children because they are dying based on what we think we are hiding from them, that God is going to manifest in their very DNA. Uncontrolled emotions causes psychotic breaks, and those emotions are evident in rape, in robbery, in adultery, in murder, and in suicide. Today we are talking about envy. And if you haven't heard our commentary on the Black emotional state, check out our commentary on YouTube entitled Black Insanity on the Rise. Why are we acting so crazy? Now, we did this back in 2013. It's entitled Black Insanity on the Rise. Why are we acting so crazy? It is on YouTube. You can type it in and watch it in its entirety, or you can contact me at groove19@gmail.com and request a audio download of it. I'll send it to your email address. Now, since birth, we're going into what has happened to us, why it happened, and what must be done about it. Since birth, society and parents have had their children in an unending competition to be better than the next person. It may have been in beauty pageants, in school, in churches, in words, or in actions. But the competitive nature of man and mankind has served as a destructive force in the minds of many. Since the genesis of the Bible, Satan used competition to lure Eve into rebellion against her creator. God doesn't want you to know what he knows. Competition. And now that same competitive spirit has ruined generation of our children who felt that they never reached their full expectation, their full potential, because they were taught to compete against others and not against themselves. Now, we lost touch with our parents because we weren't able to do or be better than the neighbor's child. You know what I'm talking about. We didn't make the best grades. We didn't get any trophies. We did little to nothing that gave our parents something to brag about. We were compared to others as if though nothing we did was good enough. I'm talking to somebody. No matter how old you are, as an infant, teenager, or adult, when you are made to feel that your best is not good enough for others, it destroys something inside of us psychologically, and it breeds emotions that may someday prove to be deadly to ourselves, to others and to others, meaning we are going to end up being a murderer or we're going to end up killing ourselves. Our personal best is a competition within self that brings out our true potential. Young people, your personal best is a competition against yourself that brings out your true potential. When we base our personal best on someone else's best, we begin to live outside of our gift. And in doing so, we become dissatisfied, ungrateful, and unappreciative. We begin to wonder if life is better on the other side where the people who are better than us live. Does that sound familiar? Why does everyone want to be not wealthy, not well off, but everyone wants to be rich? Why? Because we think rich people live a more carefree life than we do. This is not true, but it appears to be so based on the cars they drive, the house they live in, but you never see the misery in the home, and you never see the misery inside of the person. But I'm going to give you a clue as to how to find out and see the misery. Look at the weight of the person, and look in the eyes of the person, and listen to the words of the person and the way in which they convey themselves. And you can tell how they feel about themselves. I don't care if they're smiling or crying. You can detect these things. Eve wanted to know if Satan was telling the truth about God being jealous of her. The Eve of self wanted to know if life was better without God, or knowing just as much as God. That was the temptation that led to sin of disobedience. And we have not left that state of disobedience, although we think we have. Because we sing beautiful songs, we think we are obedient. Because we are at church every Sunday on time, we think we are obedient. Because we are at the mosque on time, don't miss a group, always pay your tithes, we think we are obedient. But we are just following the external laws to look good. But the internal self is a savage. And the internal self is being made manifest through the children. The dissatisfaction in the spirit of a man has caused us to take on the responsibility of a God without the capabilities to perform as God performs. See, we want to be God. The preacher wants to be God. They lord over the fact that you listen to their every word, and they instruct you based on their emotions, not based on what God is saying. Not all of them. Let's look at Psalms 6 through 7. Psalms 6 through 7. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. But listen to 7. But ye shall die like men, and fall like one of the princesses. You will die like a man dies, and you will fall like those who think that they are so high and mighty that what they have can never go away. But these things that are in us causes emotion, extreme emotion, and someone plays on that emotion. That's how a pimp plays a female. You can pimp any woman. You can take the deacon's wife. You can take the minister's wife, and people are doing this, and make her a whore. It is all in the way you control their emotions. When we become envious of another, we step outside of our level of understanding. We think that we are able to handle whatever it takes to live the life of the person that we envy. And because we are unable to live their life, we begin to build negative emotions towards that person and everything that they do. Now, we're hating, and we use this term hating all the time, the haters. But we never look into what is causing the hate, what will happen with the hate, why the hate is so strong that you can feel it. This is a psychological issue that is deeply rooted in chemical and emotional imbalance. But we call it hating, and the level of hatred is so strong that it could lead to murder. I told you about the two brothers that fought. They didn't just fight over clothes. They fought because there was an emotional disagreement between the two. They couldn't discuss it verbally. They didn't know how to use conflict resolution. So the next thing that we do, we fight, then we kill. And the level of hatred, as I said, is so strong that it leads to murder. Most white folks, and I know you're going to turn it off now because I'm talking about white people, but I'm going to talk about it because God says to talk about it. And because most of you are too cowardly to talk about it, and because our children are suffering under the energy of our cowardly behavior because we don't want to tell them the truth of what happened to us, the truth of what is happening to us, the truth of what we have done, and the truth of what must be done. So we pacify emotions with money. Most white folks secretly and openly hate black people. Likewise, most black folks secretly and openly hate themselves. That's why it is so easy for white folks to kill black people, and that is why it is so easy for black people to kill each other. But envy, in most cases, is the root of that hatred. Envy and fear. We all desire to be the best at something, to gain world attention, to outdo the competition. Everybody wants to do something, to be seen, because we want to be lauded as someone who is great. Rarely do we desire to outdo our personal best, to do better today than we did yesterday. Our journey towards mental and spiritual stability requires that we do not give in to temptations of the competitive spirit that destroys our minds. It destroys our friendships. It destroys our families. We have to understand the fact that conforming to this world destroys the spirit of God inside of each of us. So sport and play, I don't care what it is. Football, baseball, basketball, soccer, I don't care what it is. When you go into it, competitive, wanting to be the best instead of competing against yourself, there is always going to be a level of envy. You think everybody in the NBA on the same team likes each other? Kobe and Shaq were on the same team, couldn't stand each other because there's a level of envy and hatred. And when Kobe got caught doing something, Kobe couldn't wait to snitch on Shaq. See? It's in there. But you're so busy looking at the limelight of it all that you miss it. Romans 12:2. Romans 12:2 of the King James Bible. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of what? By the renewing of the mind. And I got news for you. Ever since your sojourn, your kidnapping to this place called America, which has turned out to be, out of all of the countries and states in the world in terms of freedom, one of the best. But all of our time in this country has taught us to conform to this world. Now the black man is driving the best cars. He's living in a 14-story house and there's only 2 people, but they got 48 rooms and they got 22 cars and, you know, they got a business and they're living well, but it's too excess. It's too excess. Look at me. I'm a big nigga. This is worldly stuff. Renewing of the mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So everything that we are doing in this world is not a renewing of mind. It is the same old mind. It is the same old actions. It is the same old results. We're all after the same thing. We're talking about envy. And we're talking about world envy. We're talking about the emotions inside of the individual. We're talking about hating, how the preacher teaches on Sunday morning about hate on me, hater, but he never tells you what the hate stems from. This is just entertainment, buffoonery. It's nothing that will build your character. It's entertainment. You're being entertained on Sunday morning in most cases, and you love it. But God doesn't love it. God is tired of the entertainment. We got enough entertainment. Matthew 5:4-8 of the King James Version of the Bible. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Well, what is perfect? When you tell someone to be perfect, somebody always comes back, well, nobody is perfect. That is the ignorance of the mind of a people who have so much many tools to use. You got Google, you got the internet, where you can look up the word perfect and see what it means. But you would rather battle saying that no one can be perfect because you are afraid that you could never be perfect without even knowing what perfection is. What is perfection? What is being perfect? Being perfect is, listen very closely, because God wouldn't give you an instruction that he knew you and I wouldn't be able to handle. Being perfect, having all the required or desirable elements, qualities, or characteristics as good as it is possibly able to be. Being as good as you are able to be perfect. God knows you can't be perfect. The world is not perfect. You think the world is a complete round ball, but the world is actually, the earth is actually oval shaped. It's not perfect. And if it were not for where the waters are and where the mountains are that act as a balance for the earth would wobble and shake all of us off of the earth, off of the planet. So God says, be perfect, as close to perfect as you can, and I will sustain you. Who is sustaining this earth that spins at 1,037 and a third mile per hour? Who sustains it? Who stops it from wobbling? God does. Who can control our emotions? God can. But what is our job? Our job is to be as close to perfect as we can be. Be ye as good as you possibly can be, God says, and I will handle the rest. But are we being good? Or are we just putting our good image forward while we do all the dirt behind the door? Why does God command us to be perfect? It is because through constant challenge with yourself to do better today than you did yesterday, to push a little harder, to get a little better result, we begin to see the presence of God. We begin to call on God, to lean on God, to trust God. We put on the full armor of God that protects us from emotions from without, meaning those who dislike or wish to do us harm. And God's full armor protects us and others from the negative emotions that we feel towards them. In other words, everyone that posts up on Facebook about the haters, you a hater too. What goes around comes around. You call someone a liar, you're a liar too. You just think you higher than the lie. You think you're supposed to get away with the lie. So these emotions are being made manifest through our children. They're coming out lying straight off the bat. Did you do it? No. But I saw you did it. I didn't do it. Where you get that from? He got it from within you and I, people. Emotions of the spirit. See? Just as much as you think someone has hated you, you have hated others. And just as much as you think someone has wished bad on you, if you are truthful with yourself, you will admit that at some point in life, you have wished bad on others. See? We're talking about envy, the green-eyed monster, the beast that is within each individual, the animalistic tendencies and hatred that is constantly fed by our frustration and impatience, constantly awakened by our desire to possess something that belongs to someone else. As I stated earlier, robbery, rape, murder, war, adultery all stem from the envious emotions of those who wish to covet what belongs to someone else. What are most wars fought for? Material, oil, something. Never for the freedom of a nation of people, because only the people who win the war come in and enslave the population that were the original inhabitants of that particular area. So it's not about freedom. It is war because I want to covet what belongs to someone else. We all know that God gave the command that we should not covet. And the 10th commandment tells us not to covet. It gets to the heart of the matter of sin. It looks at our motivations, shows how God wants us to think. Do not lust for, lord over, marvel over what belongs to someone else. The Holy Quran says it too, like this. The Holy Quran says, lower your gaze. The Bible says, do not covet. Both of these are getting to the root of envy. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, want for your brother what you want for yourself. See, if you want people to have what you want, there's no room for envy because you're happy for them because you want what they got and you want it in the way that they got it, through hard work, through effort, true effort. So I want for you what I want for myself. Now, I am envious, Brother Johnny. I know for a fact it is a horrible emotion. And for those who wish to be accepted by God, envy alters the spirit. Envy alters the mind. Envy alters the body and the soul to the point where God cannot use us. This is why God says, do not covet. Because when you begin to envy what someone else has, you take your attention away from me, God talking. And not only can I give you what they have, but I can give you more than what they have. Not only can I give you more than what they have, but I can balance out what I give you so that you will not fall into sin. So in the Bible, in the book of Amos, someone says, God, I am brutish and stupid. And then he goes on to say, give me not wealth, poverty, nor riches, but give me balance in my life that I may not steal and that I may not want for what someone else has. This kills the emotion of envy. But how many of our preachers are teaching this? See? So envy destroys the very essence of individuals. It makes us to think that God is talking to us, when in essence it may very well be us talking to ourselves. And God is telling me to tell you, and God is telling me to tell you. Well, how God gonna tell you to tell me that I got some land when I don't have no land? How God gonna tell you to tell me that I'm gonna win the lottery when gambling is a sin? You're telling me that. But we are so caught up in the prophetic world of lies that we want somebody to tell us a lie. We're becoming a schizophrenic nation, paranoid and delusional. And all of this is by God's design. Envy from a negative standpoint is satanic. You don't know that rich people have envy too? You don't know that the rich man who has to stress every day of his life envies the man who doesn't? You don't know that the wife who is on the arm of the rich man envies the woman who is enjoying her life? What you think adultery comes from? What you think rape and robbery comes from? All of these crazy sex parties come from? Because they envy what they cannot have. And we always reaffirm that thought. We're always talking about the devil as a liar, which is true. The devil does lie, but when he whispers into the heart and mind and soul of a man and woman what they want to hear, then the words of Satan may be a lie. But it is the lie that we want to hear. It is the words we need to encourage us to continue on engaging in whatever lie that makes us feel good. So we love going to the church where the man says ain't nothing wrong with homosexuality, ain't nothing wrong with a woman loving a woman. Now, I'm not attacking homosexuals. If you're a homosexual, if you're of age, if you love another man, that's your business. I don't care. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't care. And I prove it every day. You a grown man. If you are a homosexual and I happen to like you as a person, once I find out you are a homosexual, guess what? I'm still going to like you as a person. It doesn't sway me left or right. But don't put it in the book that it's all right. Don't lie on God. You put God in a cheap position, like he can't kill you when he murder nations at a time. And you're making our children hate God. And you're making our children think that they can handle their life by themselves. And our children are making up their own gods. And they're going deeper and deeper into sin. And now the real God is going to have to stand up, and all who are in the way will be destroyed. 2 Thessalonians 2, 10 and 12. 2 Thessalonians 2, 10 and 12. And I hope you don't think I'm emotional about it. This is just how I move out of the way and let God do the talking. So forgive it if it's strong, but listen to it. 2 Thessalonians 2, 10 and 12. And with all deceivableness, listen to this, of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they may be saved. We don't want to be saved based on truth. We want to be saved based on who we are and we don't have to change as long as we pay our tithes, as long as we at church on time, at every event, shouting, talking about God showed up and showed out. You putting that cheap mess on God. God don't have to show out. God shows out when night comes. He shows out when day comes. He shows out when you breathe. He shows out when you're sleeping, when you wake, because if it was not for him, you wouldn't do any of it. God don't have to show up and show out where you shouting at. Are you crazy? Yes, you and I are crazy. You putting that cheap mess on God. 2 Thessalonians 2:10 and 12. And for this cause God shall send them strong delusions, that they shall believe a lie. See, you talking about the devil is a liar. 2 Thessalonians 2:12, 10 through 12 says that God is going to send us strong delusions that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. So you go on. You go on believing the lie and think the devil is a liar, but God is in control of it all. See, envy is the desire for what others have. Status, lifestyle, possession, characteristics, or relationship. It is not if it is not controlled, this emotion, it can develop into contempt, into malice, and the destruction of others. It manifests itself through dislike for others and irritation over their prosperity. Every time you see somebody get something, you get irritated. That's where the hating comes from. The preacher hates, the husband hates, the wife hates, the minister hates. Everyone who is in trying to take control of their own emotions eventually hates. It is fueled by expectations that one deserves recognition and success over another individual, and as a result is linked to greed and pride. Envy is the opposite of love, because while love celebrates the good of another, envy seeks to destroy another in order to benefit oneself. So we use that word love loosely. But we don't love ourselves because we won't take the time to look within ourselves and find out what the problem is. The minister is telling you forget the past. The Bible is a book of the past. So if you're going to forget the past, put the Bible down. Put religion down and just live in the present for right now. It is a hypocritical way in which the people are being taught. And that hypocrisy is causing confusion and imbalance in the brain of the adults and imbalance in the brain of the children. So we're just thanking God for everything. I stumped my toe, but praise be to God. He show up and show out. Put God on that minute level. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad told his followers to want for their brother what they want for themselves. Scripture says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We say, treat people like you want to be treated. Training the brain in this manner begins to get to the root of and in actuality, it begins to uproot the seed of envy. Want for your brother what you want for yourself. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Why is it that when you in the line in the grocery store, you can take as long as you want and disregard the other people in the line, but when you are in the line and they're at the front taking time, you get angry? Want for your brother. Do unto others as you want it to be done unto you. Be an example. Be perfect. The initial stage of jealousy and envy involves an individual having a desire for what another person has. When this feeling is not controlled or tended to, it develops into disdain or scorn for the other person, simply because they remind the individual of what they are lacking. Most people who have wealth, most people who have things that they work so hard for, people hate you because it reminds them of what they don't have. The person who hates you never stops to think, wait a minute, I am not even mentally equipped to handle all that these people handle on a daily basis. technically I don't even deserve what they have. So, God, if you could allow me to advance at the speed and in the way that you feel I should advance, that I may be able to be perfect and do my best and do better today than I did yesterday, then the emotions of envy will begin to dissipate, because you're no longer looking at the other person, but you're grateful to God for what he has given you. The feeling can also lead to malice, in which the individual wishes to destroy the good in the other person's life. This is done with the idea that if the individual cannot experience the pleasure that the person has from that good, then that person shouldn't be able to experience it either. So I'll rob you, I'll kill you, and if it gets to the point, I'll kill myself. But as a man says, before I let you go, I'm going to kill you and kill myself, because ain't no other man going to get you. That is an emotional imbalance. This is where gossip, backbiting, hating, and character assassination comes into play. We start to spread rumors, and you done it. Pastor, you done it. Holy folk, you done it. You spread rumors. You talk. You spread gossip. And then you say, why they hating on me? You do it in a tricky way and throw sideways comments. You can mess with Keith if you want to, but see, just that quick. You did it. But then you turn your back as if though you don't know what's going on. We can't wait to hear something about a person we dislike so that we can be the first to repeat it to someone else. Hey, you heard about what happened to Brother Johnny? Yeah, that nigga be on the internet talking that God stuff. Now he's sick now. See? We even go to the extreme of pretending to befriend the person that we hate so that we can have a ringside seat in their life, always in their business, always around, always complimenting, always over-exaggerating. These are possible signs that the persons or person around you may not even like you. I don't trust people that compliment me too much. I don't trust people that, oh, you're so good, you're so talented. And many have gone so far as to wish harm on you, or perhaps you have felt this way towards someone else. I know I have. I've wished harm on people. People that I felt did me wrong and they still prosper, and I wish something would happen to them. Not only did I wish it, but I sat and contemplated how I could make it manifest itself. And if it were not for the awesome mercy of God that told me to sit your silly behind down, I would have carried it out. When jealousy and envy are carried to extremes, they can seriously dominate an individual's relationship. Chronically jealous individuals use threats, lies, self-pity, and other types of manipulations to control their relationships. So if you are in this type of relationship, either seek counseling, talk to your mate, or get out of the relationship, because the individuals that were living with Elliot Rodger, the one who just shot 13 and killed 6, were expressing their concern and their desire to leave the room as a roommate because they were no longer comfortable with this psychopath. They did not leave, and they paid with their life. If their partner resists to such a manipulation, it only results in the jealous individual becoming more controlling. It may even lead to murder if a person can't have their way. I see people being controlled every day by people that they think really love them. There was a gentleman here that was controlling me because I thought he was my friend. And at the same time, he was trying to convince the other members of our group to fight me because he was too cowardly to do it, because he tried it, and I stood up for myself, and he didn't expect that. Well, he decided to coerce someone else to do it. And when you begin to deal with people like that, be very careful. Now, I want to read something. Finding the Root of Evil. This is by Papa Jamie, and it was written July 20th, 2009. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but I read a lot of his material. Jamie, Papa Jamie. And I think a lot of what he says is so relevant to the individual that, in my opinion, God talks to this man's soul about certain issues. This is him talking, in quotations. Have you ever heard someone say that they feel envious of you? Although they mean well, the truth is that envy has its root in hidden feelings of admiration, hate, or frustration. And these are products of the subconscious conditioning that comes from comparing oneself with others. Now, we just talked about that. If we teach our children to do their best, don't compare yourself to Johnny making all A's. You're not Johnny. I want you to do your very best every single day, sweetheart, and maybe you will begin to make all A's too because you're constantly doing better. But don't ever put your child up against another child. Now, they were friends, now they're enemies because they're in competition. There's no such thing as a friendly competition. No such thing. Somewhere inside of an individual, there's going to be envy, jealousy, and frustration. Now, the last few lines were mine. We're back to Papa Jamie. And these are products of the subconscious conditioning that comes from comparing oneself with another. From a young age, we are taught to compare ourselves with those around us and to seek their approval. And we are trained in a what will they say mentality. As such, we go from being happy and spontaneous children who find enjoyment everywhere to being decrepit, cold, calculating, bitter, sad, and rigid old people. Since most of the time we base our tranquility in factors outside of ourselves. You ever heard someone say they want a man that'll make them happy? You ever hear someone say that if they had that car, they would be happy? We're always looking for tranquility outside of ourselves because the battle of self is so difficult. The reward is so great. But the battle of self is so difficult that we refuse to engage in it. Eve refused to engage in it, and Eve is not a woman. Eve is the negative side of self that is too weak to fight against the suggestion that comes into the mind. So Satan comes to Eve in the man, and Satan comes to Eve in the woman. And he suggests things to us on our weaker side. And we want the tranquility of life right now, so we go along with Satan. And once we get these things, we begin to justify satanic action. So the people who are rich in this world, the people who have things that built their world on lying and scheming, they will never turn back from lying and scheming because they will have to give up everything that they built in this world. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So God says to Nicodemus, give up everything and come follow me. Nicodemus had money. Nicodemus had wealth and riches, so Nicodemus turned away. I can't do that. So then, Jesus says to Nicodemus, not God, because Jesus is not God. Jesus said to Nicodemus, come follow me. Nicodemus couldn't do it. Jesus uses that as an example to his disciples. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, because he built his world based on hellish things, on satanic things, and he's not going to turn from that. It's too much to lose. So he loses the spirit, loses the soul, and gains the world. What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses soul? The book is so clear on these points, but you're not being taught how to understand it. You're being taught how to be a slave to it. You can't be happy. You can be happy unless someone is recognizing us or giving us a compliment. Oh, you look good. Oh, so we got to show out. So that's why we say God shows up and show out. God don't need your compliments, foolish person. He's God, if you believe there is one. What in the world would he need from you and I? What, our physical self when he owns it? You are seeing day by day what is needed from God by you, and by you from God. That's one of the reasons why Facebook is so popular. We like being liked. Now, I'm guilty of that. The reason I like being liked is because I want to know that people are listening to. People are able to respond to and comprehend to what I post up, because I'm trying by God's permission to post things, to say things that is so clear that the most intelligent can understand it and the most unintelligent can understand it, so we can meet on a level and conversate about what is necessary for us to do for ourselves and necessary for us to do for our children. So I look for 1,000 likes every time I post something up. I usually get 2, but I gotta keep working, I guess. So when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself in every lecture, every commentary that I do, I'm talking to myself. And that is the unique thing about the 19 report. Every single topic discussed is something that I have had to experience in one way or another. So I'm talking, but I'm listening as well. The problem stems from our habit of comparing ourselves with others. Be it in terms of power, prestige, money, recognition, physical appearance, etc., we fall into the wretched hands of envy, which consumes our inner peace. In reality, envy, although you may not believe it, is born of the simple act of comparing oneself with something or someone. If you really want to stop suffering for silly little things, give up once and for all the harmful habit of comparing yourself to others, and you will be surprised to see how envy will immediately disappear. If you think about it, if you never compare yourself with the stars, the animals, nor with nature, you only do so with other human beings. Why don't you compare yourself to the grass? It grows, it dies, it comes back. Wouldn't that be something to compare yourself to? No, we only compare ourselves to other human beings. So now you got this chubby fella, this skinny fella. The chubby fella is stronger than the skinny fella. The chubby fella lifts weights and turn his fat into muscle. The skinny fella can't build the muscle the same as the chubby fella, but yet he's on the bench trying to bench press what the chubby fella bench presses. The chubby fella is stronger. He bench presses 500. The skinny person tries to bench press 500, gets a hernia. Why compare yourself? Do what you can do based on the ability that God has given you. We talking, we teaching now. Envy and hating. So we only do this with humans, since that is how we were programmed. And such comparison is always based in wanting to be or have more than what we have. If from today you learn to be conscious, to leave aside criticism, and to eliminate comparisons, you will find that anger, hate, falseness, and jealousy immediately disappear from your psyche. As a result, you will easily be able to go back to the basics, and you will instantly recover your natural happiness, spontaneity, and the enjoyment you felt when you were a child, and that with time you have lost. So Jesus reminds us of that lost innocence in these words. I want to say this now, that if the broadcast goes off on Mixlr, it will be posted up in its entirety again on YouTube. We only have about 6 more minutes on our podcast. So if I cut off, don't panic. You could get the whole thing again, God willing, on YouTube. So we're going to Matthew 19 and 14. We're almost finished. Matthew 19:14 of the King James Bible. But Jesus said, "Suffer little children, and forbid them not to come unto me, for of such is the kingdom of heaven." We got lost trying to keep up with the Joneses. And it seems that the more we get, the more miserable we are. Granted, some of us are able to handle having more, but most of us desire and strive to get more for all the wrong reasons. At times we are mirrored by comparisons, so we forget to appreciate what we have because the grass is always greener on the other side. We magnify our most insignificant problems, and we play the role of victim without appreciating all the beautiful things that surround. And my foot hurt. Well, somebody don't have a foot. And all of the magnificent blessings that God has bestowed upon us. My leg hurting. My back hurting. Sometimes I catch myself complaining so much, I say, God, you know, I couldn't be walking at all. So I ask your forgiveness. I ask for the pain to go away because it does hurt. But I don't want to put my attention only on that and not see the wonderful things that you've done for us. So we got to teach our children how to do that. Now I want to close with pointing out some of the causes of jealousy and envy and how we may be able to help ourselves and others by understanding the root of these emotions. Now we're closing. Causes of jealousy and envy include dissatisfaction, focusing on what one doesn't have rather than what one does have. Comparison to others. Some individuals were conditioned at an early age to evaluate themselves only through comparing themselves to others. All of these things that I am reading now stem and stir up emotions. Pride, the false idea that one deserves a life filled with personal gain and satisfaction. And that is the stage where black women are. You're walking around almost butt naked, proud of your behind, your breasts, your lips, what's between your legs, because you think for some reason you deserve some gain for that. You didn't make your butt. You didn't make your face, your lips. If you're dressed like that, I should be thanking God and leaving you alone. You didn't make none of it. You don't even try to maintain it. You won't even exercise or eat right. Pride, seeking significance, low self-esteem. An individual who do not feel good about their self often seeks significance in circumstances rather than their true self. So you find a woman who's beautiful with low self-esteem, you tell her she's beautiful, and you can get her to do anything you want, because she don't even love herself. Desire for worldly gain, seeking money, appearance, status, achievements, or talents that are of only temporary value. See, Luther Vandross, God bless him, lost his status. Patti LaBelle, the rappers you love today won't be stars forever. If they are stars forever, they sell their soul to the evil industry to do that, to stay in the limelight. And when they desire to come out, they can't. Expressions of jealousy and envy include resentment towards others, being highly judgmental and critical of others, competition in relationships. An individual desires to be better than those around them, exhibitions of a tendency toward overachievement or superior attitude to others. Why the black man always riding around in big cars with big rims, and he get a fancy car? He don't ride in the car just to ride. He got to make it real decorative so you can see him in it. Always in competition. Emotional people. Depression, being highly self-critical for not achieving what one wants to or others have achieved. Lack of contentment, a constant desire for greater material gain and the belief that it will bring greater happiness. I got 3 cars, but I want more. Tell people living in a big old mansion, 12 rooms, 2 people, and they still want more. Black folks buying boats now. They use them every now and then. Just got to have what it looks like we supposed to have in order to be happy. And ain't nothing wrong with having these things. If you love the ocean and boats, that's fine. But most of us have things just because it's supposed to make us happy. Gossip about others, constant verbal criticism of others, idolizing others. See, we're in a stage of idolization, if that is a word, our young people. They idolize everyone that comes on TV because they are made to look so great and happy and good. Beginning thoughts with the expression of, if only I had this, if only I had that. Actions and steps to counteracting these emotions to help us balance our envious emotions and hatred and internal imbalance. Be honest with yourself is number 1. While you may not feel as though you are experiencing jealousy or envy, your feelings may be disguised as contempt, criticism, self-pity, gossip, manipulation, etc. Well, if my husband would have been working, we could have stuff like y'all got. If my wife would just join me in what we're doing, we could be like they are. Always using someone else as the reason why you're not as happy as you should be. Do not deceive yourselves. Reveal your true feelings, attitudes, and emotions, not to the world. Reveal them to yourself. Wow, I'm envious. I'm jealous. I really hate the fact that they are getting so much and I'm struggling so much. God, please help me with this emotion. Help me to help myself so that this curse that I'm going through won't go through other generations. Develop a lifestyle of gratitude. Think about what you do have and be grateful. Don't settle. Just remember to be grateful. Don't settle. Just remember to be grateful. Avoid activities that encourage comparisons. Only go shopping if you have a specific purchase to make. Read books that encourage reflecting on the beautiful or the beauty that is in your life. Limit your exposure to media or magazines that focus on material gain. Yo MTV Cribs, Pimp My Ride, Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous. Music videos about this unrealistic amount of spending money, especially for the young folks. We'll have to limit our time or avoid watching these things altogether. We got in Manning, South Carolina, 2,000 rappers walking around talking about they balling. None of them got no money. Sell a little bit of drugs, but they ain't got no money. They got no wealth. They have no desire to do better, to rise higher because of TV. Ask yourself why. When feeling envious, ask yourself, what is it about someone else that you are envious of? If you find yourself envying another's positive qualities, such as their compassion or their social skills, think about forming those qualities in yourself. Doing so will lead from envy to admiration. I got good things about me. I got to begin to accentuate my qualities and use them to my benefit as the way God intended for me to use them. Use your talent. See, that is in the Bible too. God's giving out the talents. Use them to benefit yourself. Don't envy another person's talent. Use your own. Take a step back. When feeling jealous, stop and realize it. Avoid making manipulative or controlling statements to others. Spend time with yourself and transform your feelings into positive ones. Most people can't spend time with themselves. They're on Facebook all the time. I'm bored. Nothing to do. Ugh. And they spell it U-G-G-H, ugh, with a long U. You know what I mean. Do something to show your love for another. Sending an email or making a call can be helpful. I admire you so much for all of your hard work. This is a person, you're sending this to someone you're envious of. I hope to someday be able to find my qualities, but I really admire yours. Grow. Make a plan to develop your own positive qualities and unique gifts. Learn how to use your talents, people. Don't give up. Jealousy and envy can be a constant struggle. For some individuals, it can be an indicator of unresolved pain. When you were a child, you were always put in competition, told you were ugly, told you were black, told you weren't good enough. There's a documentary called Black Girls. And one lady on the documentary said her mother was doting on her. My girl is perfect. She's got beautiful eyelashes, beautiful lips, her skin, she's just beautiful hair. She has such a glow. If only she wasn't dark-skinned, she would be perfect. So this girl grew up hating her skin because of that one statement from her mother. Pain. Go back into your life. Stop listening to these people telling you to forget about your past. Go into your past and understand it, and God will allow you to forget it. Not only will he allow you to forget it, he will help you forget it or utilize it to benefit others. See, it's people who have been raped that start rape prevention programs. They use their pain to help others. It's people who have been robbed and lost loved ones who start organizations. You may be an individual who highly benefits from working with a professional therapist. Some of us really need help. And find out if you need that help and seek out that help. Get it for yourself. Talk to someone that you can express your feelings to. We'll have to begin to balance out our lives. I hope sincerely that you've learned by God's permission about this word envy, about this word hating, about the internal self and what must be done to help ourselves and to help others. This is Brother Johnny of Groove 19 Promotions out of Manning, South Carolina.